Hello everybody, my name's Shalise. Welcome everybody to my Vikings Season 6, Episode 16, The Final Straw review. And I gotta say this might be my favorite episode of this season so far. It's really a debate between me seeing Episode 11, the premiere with Bjorn Ironside, or this episode. What happens in this episode? There's a lot of growth. There's a lot of dialogue that I just love in this episode. One, King Ivar and Vitzik decide to go back to Kattegat. They decide to go back to Kattegat, and they're kind of lost where they stand. And since they're in Kattegat, King Harold welcomes them, because he needs to make... It's better to have sons of Ragnar there. They're going to make his rule over Kattegat a little bit more legitimate. But the people over there, they shit on him, they spit on him, they say insults to each other. And King Harold had to go into this good speech about how the gods forgave each other. There's certain things they could not forgive. And he says that Ivar regrets how he ruled here when he was younger. That he was not ready for leadership. How Vitzik didn't mean to kill Lagertha, and that we all have regrets in our life. And I like how King Harold was still saddened by the fact that he killed his brother Halfdan. And he says that even I killed my own brother, and it was a mistake, and I regret it ever since this day. And then, like, forgiveness. And then he sits down, and then one guy says, Ivar, are you a god? And Ivar just stands up, lays down on the and just lies flat on the ground, and everybody laughs. And it's just a point where Ivar technically admits in his own way that he's not a god. He's never truly be a god. But even though when Ivar and Vitzik, like, after, like, the drinking and the feast, there are some people like, hail Ivar, hail the sons of Ragnar. Because in Viking culture, it's understandable why the Vikings are still somewhat supportive of Ivar, still somewhat supportive of Vitzik, because they need that fame, they need that leadership, they need that glory that's going to build something to the culture of the world about them. Because Vikings were famous because of the sons of Ragnar. Well, Ragnar was famous, and then his sons were famous. So when you had the most popular people in the world, it gives something about national pride and all that. So I really understand why some of the Viking people were saying, oh, like, hail Ivar and all that stuff. And some of them were not, and some of them still shit on them and all that. But I really love this episode's dialogue. There's this moment where King Ivar and Harold are just sitting down talking to each other, and they don't know what they want. Because King Harold says, I thought I wanted to rule, I thought I wanted everything, but it was a waste, that the throne means nothing. And everything means nothing. And then he wishes the gods could forgive him for killing his brother, and he regrets killing his brother. And Ivar says, your brother's still here around you, my brothers are here, my father's here. Everybody's around us. And it really shows how Ivar has changed. He's no longer, he's still quick-tempered, but there's more of a calm sea about him. But also, he has a lack of life right now. He has a lack of lust to do anything, because he doesn't like ruling. He finds it boring. He doesn't. King Harold doesn't like ruling. He finds it boring as well. They're not. These are men who are ready to go. These are men who are ready to go. King Ivar and King Harold, in a sense, are similar to Ragnar because they want one last glory, one last battle, one last this. They want the final end, because Harold doesn't want the throne. He doesn't find it ruling. He doesn't have a wife that he loves. His true woman is dead. It's a kid that he doesn't even know if it really is his. And you have scheming with Eric in the background. So there's nothing much that King Harold has in this world that he truly could say, I love. He's just a man full of regrets. Ivar is a man who wants his fame to live out, and he says this to Vitzik. He wants to be the most famous Viking who ever lived, and even though he's done a lot, he's been the cruel one and all this stuff. He doesn't think ruling is going to give him something. He doesn't believe ambition and Roos or Kattegat is going to give him anything. So ultimately, it's like it drew flashbacks. We see Ragnar telling him to be ruthless, and it says that everybody will remember you as Ivar the Boneless. The whole world will know him for Ivar the Boneless. So what does he want to be? Does he want to be feared? What does he want to do? And at the end of the day, King Harold and Ivar both agree to attack Wessex. They want to attack King Alfred, the last stronghold of England and all this stuff. He's the last great king of England. He's the last of the England bloodline, and all the Saxons pay tribute to him. And so Ivar and Harold, they both agree, let's, we're tired, we shouldn't be growing fat, we shouldn't be, relaxing. That's not the Viking way. We are explorers, we are raiders. Come, as Ivar says, come with me, be like the gods, and reach for Valhalla. Ivar is, it's pretty obvious in this with King Harold that they're setting up a future death for these characters, in my opinion. And I think it was beautifully well done in this episode. and it really just shows where the characters are going. And I really am enjoying this episode. Really enjoyed this episode. Again, the conversation between Ivar and Harold was breathtaking, awesome. Vidzik has a good moment as well. He has a moment where he regrets the stuff that he's done. He has a lot of regret for his past, for abandoning Uba, becoming a drunk, killing Lagatha. And ultimately, he's a goddess comes down from Valhalla apparently, or a random stranger, but I'm pretty sure she's a goddess, and she lays with Vidzik that night. When Vidzik awakens the next day, he goes out into the rain, and I believe this is the same place where his mother was killed and where Lagatha was killed. And he cries in the rain and he starts laughing. It's just a bittersweet stuff about where these characters have come from and how far they're gone, and how much regret and sorrow each character has, whether it's Harold, Ivar, Vidzik. This was a great episode. And then there is Ube's storyline. Ube and Othere, they're still in the sea, and they're just constant conflict with each other with their fate. And it comes to a point where Othere says, yeah, you have not lost your faith, Ube, have you? You have not lost your faith. And it really just coming down to the tension between them, and it's just utterly freaking fantastic. I mean, Ube nearly kills Othere in a fit of rage. He almost bashes his head in with a rock, but the thing is, on the boat, Torvi convinces him, like, what's the whole point of finding a new land if we're just going to act the same, and then we're no better than Flat Nose, we're no better than Sheto, we're just going to be in the same old place that we've always been. And again, this show, and a lot of people are going to hate this season. I know a lot of people are now comparing this to the final season of Game of Thrones, which is utterly ridiculous. Because this show is building up the Viking way of loss, of the true Vikings, you know, the raiders and all that stuff. They want to go for one last great raid, and then you have the other Vikings like Uba and Torvi, and how they kind of want to separate themselves from old Viking ways, from the past, and they got to learn to accept this. And even though they're like nearly during death during this entire like episodes, like people are out of water, like some they have some water, but they're really just in the sea, and they're just, and Uba is cracking. He's doubting himself as a leader, as a person, and it takes Torvi to convince him not to kill Othere, and Othere looks shocked as well that Uba didn't kill him. And it's just like they're both losing their faith a bit. Othere with his Christian faith, and Uba with his Viking faith. And I think this is a very well done episode, and again, it's build up, it's a story building, and I really am enjoying this season of Vikings. So Viking season 6 Viking season 6 episode 16, the final straw. Great episode. I think this might be better than episode 11. But I think there's a lot of moving parts and great themes with this episode that just made sense. And here's the thing again. When I say great themes, I mean these themes are great, but they're not sacrificing in the way of story. We may not like the fact that Vikings might not have like a epic freaking battle and all that stuff, which they more or less will get. But I love the storyline where they're going about how some Vikings are trying to just go back to the old way, some Vikings are trying to start a new path. It's just great stuff, and I really enjoyed this episode. Viking Season 6, Episode 16, The Final Straw. What y'all think, everyone? Major Lee, sing off to everybody. Bye-bye.